Hi everybody, Eddie here. It's been a little while since our last update. I did an update earlier in the year talking about my projections for 2024 for the S&P 500 and Bitcoin as well. And so far, it looks like it's planned out the way I thought it would. It went a little faster than little faster than planned, but it's still kind of in the same path. So the Bitcoin chart up right here, as you can see, I pre-draw these like earlier in the year when I start buying Bitcoin around like the first wave down here. So around the 30,000 points when I start got into Bitcoin this year as we're coming out of the base. So you can see right here, it's pretty good projection. It went pretty well as planned because Bitcoin tend to move pretty well according to the charts. So as you can see, we're just forming this cup and handle right now. We're just about to get on with the parabolic move. This weekend is the Bitcoin conference, and Trump is actually going to be at the Bitcoin conference, and he's pro Bitcoin. So if he mentions something like using Bitcoin as a reserve currency for the US dollar or something like that, I think he's really going to trigger some buying, and he's going to break out this cup and handle finally. So as you can see, we've been chopping around for a good few months here since March. We've been chopping around sideways, and everybody thought it was going to come way down, it's going to crash, blah blah blah. But it's, as you can see from previous cycles, this happens every single time he hits around like the highs of the previous cycle are around here. So you can see that it just forms a cup. It just kind of consolidate into a flag, which is the handle of the cup. And then finally, what we're waiting for right now is the break of the all-time high, which is around that 73.7. Let's call it 74, 75 area. So as soon as we break above that area, I think we're going to finally start taking off. It's going to run probably into September, and then September we're going to have a little correction or sideways action before we're going higher towards the end of the year. The actual bull cycle doesn't start till around November, and usually that's the big parabolic move, right? So now till then, it could chop around. I could see this breaking out, hit maybe like 80 or 90,000. It's going to pull back and retest the 75,000 area, and then you'll take off. My target, conservatively, my target is 120,000 for this cycle. But there's just so much good news coming on. And if Trump wins the election and he's pro Bitcoin, I think we can go way higher. So I add a little scenario here that where if that's the case, we're going to break out. We're going to hit like 150, 160, pull back, retest the channel, and then go parabolic up to maybe 200,000 or so. Even 200,000 is kind of conservative. If that's the case, it could go higher from there. But what I do is I just ride the trend until the trend breaks, right? Because I know like towards the end of the cycle, it can go pretty far up parabolically, and then it's going to reverse very sharply. So you kind of have to take profits up into those key levels, and then hold some until the trend is finally done. So with Bitcoin, it goes with a 4-year cycle. So if you are one of those people that just want to hold Bitcoin forever, you can. But as you can see from previous past, Bitcoin tends to have very, very sharp pullbacks, like 50 to 90% pullbacks, right? So, but this year we got the ETFs and everything. Everybody start buying Bitcoin. Billionaires start buying Bitcoin. Governments buying Bitcoin. So that's super bullish. So we may not see those type of pullbacks again, and we might see like maybe 50% pullbacks. But even that, right? If you can say sell half of your Bitcoin and buy back when it pulls back into those bear markets and start buying the base, breaking back out of the base, you would save yourself a ton of money, and you actually manage to buy a lot more Bitcoin with the same amount of money, right? So that's the game plan for me. And if you do buy Bitcoin, the best way to do it, if you want to be liquid, is buy the IBIT, which is the BlackRock ETF, spot Bitcoin. The other way you can buy MicroStrategy as well, but MicroStrategy is a little bit leveraged to the Bitcoin price, so you get more torque on the way up. You also drop way more on the way down, right? There's also the leverage ETF, BITX. That's another way to play it. You can also play miners. We'll talk about those a little bit later. Um, or you can actually hold the actual Bitcoins, buy it on an exchange, put it in the cold wallet, and just keep it there. And then take it back out and sell it once we hit those highs. So there's a few ways to play Bitcoin. That's for me, I mostly just trade miners and ETFs because it's very liquid and I go in and out of them as I trade them. And it's very safe. I don't need to worry about getting hacked and losing my Bitcoin and so on. So that's the way I trade the cycles. And I also planning on holding some in cold storage, probably in the next bear market, maybe. So that's the way I plan to play in Bitcoin. Right now I'm waiting for this to break out. Once you start breaking out, we're going to start leveraging up on our positions in Bitcoin. Right now, I'm mostly focused on Bitcoin. I'm about 70% of my portfolio is in Bitcoin right now. So it's very high leverage because there's really nothing in the market to trade other than the mags, and the mags are pulling back. And this year is all about AI and semiconductors and AI related stocks. So that's where all the money flow is going into. And in the last couple weeks, there's money flowing out of big tech and into value. So there's a bit of a rotation going on with the markets. And is that's why I'm mostly trying to focus on things that I know will be moving, which Bitcoin will be the big one, and then as money flows into different sectors, I'll be looking at different sectors to see what we can play. So let's go through some of the lists. So yeah, that's my Bitcoin position. And if you want to know how we trade Bitcoin, and we have different option strategies that we use to create income off Bitcoin as well as trade around the positions. In this year, I actually created like a paper account where I will show the every entry, every exit with position sizing as well, just to show how you would manage a portfolio. So I started that paper account with I think at the time it was 861,000. Um, it was an old account that I never traded paper, so it was an old example of the account that was left in it. So I just kind of left it and started the way with that amount, 861,000. I think it's currently over 1 million right now, and that and most of that trading was through just trading megs, the Meg Seven and Bitcoin related stocks using a very conservative income strategies. And We haven't really leveraged it up just yet because we've been in this consolidation for months now. So kind of just waiting around for the breakout. Once it breaks out, we're probably going to get into a little bit more aggressive strategies. Currently, we're just doing very conservative income strategies, and because we've been going sideways for 5 months now, the income strategies because such high premium of our income strategies that you actually pay for the shares already. Right, it's been 5 months sideways. I think we're collecting about anywhere between 10 to 20 some percent per month on income. So it's been like 6 months. So it practically pay for it. And we started this since it was down at the 40-ish thousand for the paper account. So anyway, let's move on to the rest of the market. So let's take a look at SPX. So S&P 500, 500. I drew this at the other video. If you haven't seen the video, go back to my channel. Take a look at the market forecast for 2024 at the start of the year. So it's pretty close to how I drawn. It completely skipped this pullback here. It kind of pulled back up here instead. So it overshot the uh, the wave up to pretty close to that 1.618 area before the pullback, and then we went parabolic from there. So right now we're in like this little peak here. It's very extended up to 5600. I thought 5500 was going to be the big level, but it went past that, so it went a little bit past that. Start pulling back now, and it might come back to maybe 21 period moving average in the weekly. So right around the 5300 area or so. You really want to see this hold above the previous peak, which is right here. So if he pulls back around, this would be the area I would buy. Um, but around this time of the year, like it will pull back and then it probably run up to maybe September or so. September tends to be a very big pullback month. Um, like 9 out of 10 years, September is a very bad month for markets. So right now, I'm actually not really adding anything, except for Bitcoin, and it's just kind of waiting for things to pull back because everything's so expensive right now. There's really nothing that I can trade other than really just Bitcoin. And whenever the semis pull back, I trade the semis a little bit, but like this is a very concentrated market right now. So when you're in like the Meg 7 and semiconductors and that, and then they're super extended and you got out, very hard to go back into it because there's always that risk of very sharp pullback like this week. So if you went in last week, this week you'll be losing a lot of money already. So that's why you really had to be patient with the market, especially when it's concentrated. You want to wait till they actually pull back into support before actually going back into them again. Uh, and the rest of the market is just not doing a whole lot. It's a lot back and forth. There's right now there's a like a very large rotation going on, out of big tech and into like utilities and energy and solar and stuff like that, and regional banks for some reason. The small caps actually start performing. Small caps are finally breaking down the base. So if we take a look at IWM, these are small caps. So you can see small caps is actually doing quite well. This is the base right here. You can see that you broken out the base. You chopped around for months. I thought once we break around this base, we go straight up to retest the highs. Completely missed that. You see, I pre-drawn this, and it kind of lagger. We're finally getting back on track right now, but it lagged a little bit there, where we started going. So right now we're actually start moving. Likely we're going to test the highs. Once we test the highs, expect a pullback and then maybe a breakout. And we're pretty well towards the end of the cycle. So like I talked about in the first video at the start of the year, that I think that the market will probably go around that 6,000 S&P 500, and then we're going to get like a sharp pullback or recession or whatever towards mid 2025, towards 2026. So but we are we actually ran up quite a lot, and we're almost towards that target. So I'm kind of wondering if we either gonna have to get a very sharp pullback to get that the rest of them move to that 6,000 to 6,500 area, or we actually go way beyond that. So only time will tell. We see how it goes towards the end of the year because if we hit 6,000 before the end of the year, that's just going to be crazy. But if that happens, I don't really know. That kind of throws out the plan a little bit, because I know that during election time, there's a big, huge pump, and I was expecting a very sharp pullback sometime before the big pump. You maybe that will still happen around September, but we'll actually wait and see where it lands on September. So if September it pulls back to say 5,000 or 5,300 around that area, and then possibly we run up to 6,000, 6,200, the November, December, January, and then we get that very, very sharp pullback. So sometimes that happens like at the in February or January, for the recession. So it happened in 2021 around that time. So we'll see what happens around that time. It may not even get stretched out to the mid year. It may actually start at the start of the year. So we'll see. We're just front running this market really, really fast right now, and everything's going parabolic. Um, so good thing is that if we look at the daily chart, we have a nice pullback um, in last week. So let's see how far this will pull back. But I think we're going to start bouncing around right here. So like come around here and then start bouncing. So we kind of delay like this chop around area for a while. Because I thought we'd be getting a sharp pullback, like around like March into April, but we actually ran up and pulled back in April, but it didn't last really long. It just went straight back up. So anyway, time will tell how this will play out, but still, it doesn't really matter if these are correct or not. All it matters is your targets, right, and how you trade around those targets. So it really depends what you do. Like, I mostly day trade, so I really don't care how the chart goes. All I care about is volatility, and we finally start seeing some volatility. So we actually start making some pretty good returns in the last few days, but it's been pretty rough with day trading for the past few months. I'm not making nearly as much as what it was in 2022, just because there's no volatility. So like 20-point days, you barely make a move, right? Back in 2022, it's like 50 points every day, 100 points on volatile days. You can turn $1 to $50. It's just kind of crazy market. So, but anyway, I can't wait till that comes back in the next recession. So we'll see what happens next year. Okay, so let's take a look at the Q. So Q's been selling off quite sharply in the X. So you can see this is a pretty steep pullback. In 2 weeks' time, we gave back quite a bit. I think that's a 10% correction. Yeah, just about 10%, 9.5. So that's a pretty healthy pullback. We're back into this support zone, like these two white lines right here are pre-drawn. So this is a support zone right here. So looking for this to be back up. So it we could see this and V up, or we could see this retest and then come down, retest to 200, and then we go up, right? Either or we're going higher towards the end of the year. It's just right now we're in that corrective wave. So just be patient. Wait for it to reclaim the 1821 moving average. You can try to time it, but it's very hard to time the reversal without it actually reversing, right? Usually what I do is I wait for the reversal. Or if it's a stock I want to hold for longer term, I just sell puts at a lower price. That's what I do. But anyway, watch this pullback and then see if you'll hold this zone right here. If it kind of bases around here, look for the base, look for the moving averages to catch back up to the price. And then once the price start flatten out, once the moving average flatten out and the price start flattening and start reversing, that's your entry point. Something like this right here. You see how it comes down, the moving average get flattened, and then the price start making higher lows. That's usually your signal, and then you wait for the bounce, and then you can go back, jump back into your Mag 7s. You can play ETFs if you wanted to. I mostly like to play leverage ETFs, the 3x ETFs like SOXL, which is semiconductor ETF. You can also play like the Mag ETF, which is the Mag 7, and you trade TQQQ, right? That's the easy one to do. So like, and people think that just trading. If you trade a lot of options, you think shares are really boring, and it is. But leverage ETFs actually quite good because you have more control, right? They're a lot easier to manage because you can preset stops and targets. And they're very liquid, so there's very little slippage. And so it's a lot easier to play with leverage ETFs, especially if you have a bigger account. What I normally do is I like to do a bit of both, right? I buy the shares, I can sell puts, get income on it. I can also buy the call options, debit spreads, or other strategies that we use to leverage up the upwards movement to get higher rate of return, right? If you're on a smaller account, obviously, if you know for sure that it's going to go higher, a high leverage option strategy would be the way to go because you have a smaller account. It's a lot easier to grow an account with options. But once you hit a certain number, you can't really put like all your account on options, especially when you're like have a much bigger account, right? So it's good to do a bit of both, buy some shares, do some option strategies, do some income strategies. But as long as your direction is in the same place and you have target in mind, just play it that way. right? So it really depends on your risk profile. Right, let's keep going. Something that's very interesting is gold. Gold's been going parabolic in the last few months, and right now it's creating like this almost like expanding top right up here, and this could either mean we're going to explode up or we're going to come down pretty hard. So, it might be a play if you actually like trading gold. I actually don't mind trading gold once in a while. So I'm kind of thinking that you'll go higher with the way the dollar is going, because the dollar has a lot of debt, and it's actually pretty good for gold and Bitcoin at this point. That's why a lot of people right now are considering entering everything into Bitcoin, is because the US has so much debt and they have to service that debt. And all they can do to service that debt is print more money, which means devaluing the dollar. And basically, you lose buying power. And when things like that, that you really want hard assets like gold, real estate, in Bitcoin now. Bitcoin's probably way better than gold, but a lot more liquid anyway. So gold's pretty good at certain conditions. And right now, it's kind of tough to buy it up here, but if gold makes a pretty good pullback into the lower range and start bouncing, maybe that's the area you really want to buy. I've been keeping an eye on TLT, looking for rate cuts. So as you can see, we were in this downtrend. We found L downtrend. We retest, we bounced, but we're still chopping around. So still waiting for the rate cut. Once they start cutting rates, I think this will go up pretty rapidly, as you can see right here. Back in 2020, 2019, 2020 is the big run right here when they start cutting the rates. And then once they start raising rates, just came all the way back down, right? So if they start cutting rates again, we could see a move like this where it goes pretty sharply up. So it might be a good trade. TLT has always been a boring trade, but once you start moving, you can move really, really fast. Plus, the options are super cheap right now. So if you buy like 2026 leap options on this, I think at the money is like $10, which is about, well, $9. I think it's only like 10-12% premium on the price. So it's a very good risk reward if you can time it towards rate cuts. I think once they start cutting, they're going to start cutting rapidly. So this might be an interesting play later on. The VIX shot up. He's coming back down very quickly. So hopefully coming back down again. And then once the VIX start coming back down, stocks should start going back up again. Um, I don't like the VIX too high because it creates the option premiums too high to day trade. But it also means that there's a lot wider range to day trade. So you get the good and the bad. But I think once the markets start moving 50 to 100 points again, the VIX is going to get elevated, probably around the 20s. So I kind of hoping for those days to come back, so I can day trade a lot wider ranges. It's a lot easier to make money when it's a very wide range, because you don't need to trade anything else. You don't even need to look at other stocks. All you're gonna do is trade the index. It is the easiest way to trade because you know how it moves. You know the ranges it moves in and stuff like that. And just a lot easier to make money with. Um, all right. And towards next year, we're going to get those big ranges back. So if you guys want to learn how to day trade options, how to make a lot of money trading wide ranges like that, I highly suggest you take our day trading courses. I actually started a small account day trading course earlier this year, and went over very well. It was quite popular. Um, that course will teach you how to day trade options, some very basic effective strategies that I use on a daily basis to trade it, especially on small accounts. You can grow a small account, like I did examples last year where I grew a $10,000 account to $100,000. So it's not as hard as you think. It's more about being able to have the skill set to do it, right? In the time frame to really to effectively learn how to day trade, really depends how much work you put in. Because I have students that start doing really, really well after the first year, right? Everybody struggles with day trading the first year. It doesn't matter who you are, including myself. I struggled for a long time before I finally got it, right? But some people, like right now with a lot of resources now, and you have people that are able to teach you the effective ways, what works and what doesn't. It cuts out a lot of the time of research, right? Obviously, you can try to learn this on your own, but it'll take years to learn on your own, and you'll probably lose a lot more money doing it yourself than learning from someone that actually knows how to do it and give you the proper guidelines to do it with, right? Because I have a lot of students that previously tried to do it on their own, lost, six figures before they come and take my course, because they thought my course was expensive, but you know, they lost way more money taking a cheap course. Then now they finally start making their money back. So it's really up to you. I see how people always think that my courses are expensive, but I did put in a lot of work, and I refine my courses every year as the market conditions change. It's not just something that I make and then you're on your own type of thing. We have Discord. We discuss. We do market updates every day. We discuss how the market's changing, what's working, what's not working, stuff like that. And that type of stuff would really help like a new trader that has no idea what's going on and don't have enough experience in the markets just yet. So have somebody to guide you through that. It's a big help. Anyway, let's move on. Let's take a look at some. Actually, let's take a look at some of my Bitcoin list. So on my Bitcoin list, um, what I mostly buy is if I want whole Bitcoin, I buy IBIT. There's really no point to buy the other ETFs other than IBIT. IBIT is the iShares BlackRock one, the most liquid, holds the most Bitcoin, and most reliable. So that's the perfect selection. I can't wait till they start doing options on these, because if they start doing options on these, I probably stop trading everything else. So the next thing I use is BITX. This is the leverage 2x ETF. The issue with the leverage ETF is if it doesn't move, you can see Bitcoin was going sideways. Bitcoin was going just sideways. BITX actually goes down because BITX is 2x ETF, and they work like options. They decay, right? So with a thing like BITX, you really want to just trade the momentum, or you sell options to hedge against the downside, right? So what I do is I sell options to pay for that, and then and then use the options to hedge against the downturn. And then once you start moving, then really that's where you're going to get all your money. So the when selling the options, basically what it does is you'll pay for the downside. So if you sell it long enough, like right here to right here, I'm collecting anywhere between 10 to 20% a month on this. So yeah, and sometimes I do it on a weekly and bi-weekly as well, and I could get like 5 to 10% on a weekly basis as well. So over 6 months' time, those premiums actually pay for your shares. So if you've done that for the last 6 months, your shares right now is free. So even it comes down, like it's dropped 50%, but you made 50% because you pay for 100% of the value of the stock, and you still own the stock. So once you start moving and going parabolic, this can grow really, really fast, right? So these are very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. But if you know what you're doing, these are very good products to use to leverage the momentum, make some money on the upside, right? And then we have the miners. There's a lot of different. There's Cypher's a very small miner, but as you can see, it's breaking out the base and start moving. So that could be a good play. So my most focus on right now is CLSK. They have Ether as well as Bitcoin mining. And you can see it's a big base here, waiting for this base to break out. Once it breaks out, then you're going to start hitting, the 30s, the 50s targets on those. You could buy coin, which is exchange. Coin's flagging right now, as you can see, it's going to this wedge. Once it breaks out this wedge, it's going to probably go up to that $350 area, right? So this is another Bitcoin ETF. Hut is also a small Canadian miner. I don't trade that one. I just watch it. The one that I trade mostly is the way I trade mostly is Mara. Mara is the main miner. Um, the biggest one out there that I use. So most of my precisions is in Mara, and it's again, it's not performed that well. It's going sideways. There's other Bitcoin miners that are actually doing better, the smaller ones. But once they start going, though, it's going to go really, really fast because, as you can see, it goes from parabolic state. So this went from like $3 up to 60 here, and then months later it went up to 80. So I'm thinking there's something like this is going to happen this cycle as well. So right now it's just kind of basing and forming that base. Once it breaks out that $30, $32 area, it's going to go parabolic into probably the 60s to 80s, right? And if Bitcoin price start rising really rapidly, you can see this over 100, right? So right now, I'm just kind of waiting around. Like I said, I do the same thing. I sell options, club premium. As you go sideways, the premiums are very juicy. And then by the time you start moving, you're gonna make money on the upside as well, while you're paying down the cost of your shares, selling the options. MicroStrategy is probably a good proxy to use to have direct access to Bitcoin, because what MicroStrategy does is they only hold Bitcoin. So basically, but they're a little bit leveraged. So it's basically like buying a leverage ETF without the decay, right? So this is very good product to use, like stock to use. The only thing is very pricey, and the options are so wide. There's a lot of slippage, but they're doing a stock split. So once they stock split, probably will move a lot more money into MicroStrategy because it's just a lot easier to manage with a smaller price, especially with options. Because you need the options to be liquid, so you have less slippage. So right now the slippage is quite high with a large stock. So hopefully, once they split, there's more option volume, so it'd be a lot easier to control. Hmm. Riot doesn't perform. This is one of the biggest miners. I have no idea why it's not performing. My position in Riot is very small. It's probably my smallest one of them all. Mainly because it wasn't moving with Mara at the same time, so I switched everything over to Mara. And just leave a little bit with Riot. I'm pretty sure once you start going, you'll catch up pretty quickly. So right now it's actually a pretty good price. So it's at the lower end of the price range. They have earnings coming up. Right now, probably not a good time to get into Riot. You're probably looking at 18 when they start running, and hopefully you'll go back up to those 50, 60s, 70, 80 area, like later into the Bitcoin cycle. But right now, it's still just doing nothing. It's just basing. WGMI, I have a position in this as well. So this is Bitcoin related stocks. So it's a combination of miners. You had Nvidia in there as well. So like and a few other like MicroStrategy and stuff like that in Coin. So this, if you want like more variety and you don't want to buy like individual stocks with the exposure of individual stocks, you can buy this as an ETF. This is a pretty good one to hold if you just want to hold on to a basket of Bitcoin related stocks. Let's go through the mix really quick. My phone was keep ringing, so I had to turn it off. Anyway, Apple went parabolic after breaking out of this base right here. So you can see that it created like a box flag type of thing. And then finally broken out. So right now it's pulling back a little bit, kind of waiting for it to see if you'll hold right here and continue higher, pull back to at least 250. Maybe you can come retest the box before going higher. So just keep an eye on this for now. They all start pulling back, so it's a good time to take a look at them again. So Amazon broken out of the box all the times, coming back into the box, which is not a good sign. Hopefully it can base around here and then go back higher. It is very extended from the base, so you can see that we kind of did like a V up cup, right? So it went quite extended. It does need to consolidate a little bit before it go higher. So it's probably a stock that I probably wouldn't touch for a little while until it start picking up momentum again. AVGO, this is Broadcom, just fill the gap. Semiconductors been going crazy, so this stock went crazy as well. They just recently did a stock split on this thing. Anyway, it's retesting some key supports. If this holds and start moving, usually what I do, instead of putting individual stocks on these, unless I'm trading like Lolo options, I usually just buy SOXL, which is the 3X semiconductor ETF. So that's my main play for semiconductors. I like the leverage products. Uh, and I'm a momentum trader, so they work perfectly well with me. So once there's a base coming through the semiconductors, I'll most likely start buying SOXL again. Take a look at Google. Google pulling back. They're all pulling back very, very sharply. It's almost close to support. There's a gap down here that needs to be filled. So maybe if it comes down to like the 150-ish, 160 area, this could be a good buy. Yeah, if it comes down here, this could be a good buy. Probably gonna get like an end of year pop. Once that pop is done, that's when you just get out and go all cash. Meta is looking like a topping pattern right here, like a double top. There's a big, huge gap that right here that still haven't been filled completely. So if it comes down, you're looking at let's see, fill that gap. It's quite a bit of yeah, around 400 is where the gap is going to get filled. So if this could come back down to 400 and get fills and then base, maybe there would be another little pop before the drop. So this looks like a top and pattern because you can see that this is a huge run up. It's made a double top. So, it's not something that I really want to hold any of these meg stocks anymore. They did their run. You're at the tail end of the run, so it's a lot more dangerous at the tail end of the run. So the way I trade them is I just trade them short term. I don't hold on to them like I did when it was coming down here and start averaging up right here. That's done. So the easy money's been done. Right now it's more about just trading around the positions and try to make wherever you can before the market rolls over. So that's the way it is. Same Microsoft, same thing, huge run. It looks like it did start finding some support here. This is where a lot of the demand zone is. So around this area, it's a good buy for a short-term pop. But right now, I'm not really looking to play any of these. Nvidia, there's a lot of gaps down here on Nvidia. I'm looking for Nvidia to come down to maybe that 95 to 100 zone. If this comes down to 95 to 100, I'll buy some. I'll buy some more. And I don't think this is the top just yet, just by looking at the volume. There's not a lot of selling volume. Just very light volume coming down. That that just means that whoever's selling, they're going once they finish selling and the sell volume dries up, the volume start picking back up and go higher. So once this pulls back to around this area, these are anchor VWAPs. Um, Once it pulls back to around that 95 100, I'll probably start a position on it. Tesla broke out downtrends, retesting that downtrends back into like this anchor VWAP area around 200. Looking for this area to hold, maybe fill that gap right here. There's a little gap there. Kind of hoping they'll fill that gap, then it have a sharp V up. So once they fill that gap, then I'll play. You can see that I thought this would happen over here, but it kind of got delayed. So you can see right here, it kind of same thing. Went up, retest. So right now I'm looking for the bounce and go higher. Right, probably test the all-time highs maybe at the end of the year. Anyway, that's it for this video. Make sure you like, subscribe. I don't do the updates that often. Maybe I'll do more next year. I'm kind of really busy right now. I have a baby on the way, and I have a 3-year-old, so I don't have a lot of time to do these videos. Because a lot of times if I do these videos, you can hear them screaming in the background sometimes. I'm sure you guys know if you guys have your own families. So anyway, I'll do what I can to update the market. Probably once the markets start rolling over, I'll do another update to let everybody know that market's rolling over. If you want to profit off the volatility, again, look up my courses. LeeCapitalTrading.com is in the description down below. Take a look at I have a free Facebook group as well, so I post on there. Also, I don't post that much anymore, but you can check in there. I do post updates and stuff like that more often than on YouTube. So my free Facebook group is a good place. And if you want to be in our Discord, we do have a Discord membership community. It's a very small community. I like to keep it small and tight, and everybody just talking about markets, no nonsense. Um, no people try to YOLO and stupid stock advice and stuff like that. It's just people that wants to learn how to trade and trade properly and want to be in a community with other traders. So that's what our community is all about. If you're interested, come check us out. LeeCapitalTrading.com. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.